Stories some more.
I'm Carol Cooper.
And we have just launched our Kickstarter campaign for Find My Castle. And I have Carol here because she is going to make a backer. We're going to make a backer out of Carol. And she's actually going to be one of our first pledges. We actually got our first dollar when we launched this morning, April Fool's Day. So we start our campaign to raise $500 and more. So I asked Carol to come in here and share with me, because Carol actually works with me in my businesses, but more specifically this year as I started exploring home exchange, which is kind of like Airbnb but no money exchanges, and it was quite foreign to you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so for the last 6-8 months, I started exploring it, and I've actually made about, probably 80,000 points in that 6 months exploration. Now, points are equivalent to what we call dollars, $80,000. Now the question is, what's the question? Well, it's not real until it's what?
Till we can spend it.
That or cash in your hands. And so the point of this little intro is, Carol and I have our role right now in the alternative soft dollar is really start to create models that you can follow with this Fund My Castle, but on the soft dollar side. Now, Carol and I have talked about it. In fact, your background in the movie industry is what?
I'm an art department coordinator for feature films.
And so you kind of like oversee all the funds and where they go and where...
For the art department.
Yeah, for the art department. And so when I started introducing her into her apartment on an exchange, she said, "What? I don't even like my little apartment." And when I said, "Well, look, just come manage mine and we'll figure out how to do something," that's exactly what she did. She started giggling. And in reality, I put a book in her hand. Actually, we've spent quite a few hours dialoguing, researching, well, what about this and what happens to that, correct?
We have 20 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the home exchange side and the points and how to, right now you just finally got your house. Now I want you to understand this. She just finally got her little apartment listed in an exchange program, and it really means nothing, right?
No.
Yeah, and so Carol is going to coach you based on how I coach her on the things we're exploring as we create an alternative currency. One of the things I asked her to do is to read one of the books that we have Frank DeBrucke doing as part of our rewards. And Frank's book on free trade, what'd you think about it?
I thought it was pretty great, and it was easy to read. It made a lot of sense to me.
There's actually like a little budget thing back here. You guys use this budget thing in your when you're planning an art department, right?
Well,
you have to have, okay, there's no, in this thing we're looking at net profit and blah, blah, blah. But the point of this is barter. Barter's not something you've ever been exposed to.
well, I actually have, through you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I have through you, but until recently, it isn't anything I've ever used in my life. But it's a fascinating concept, and I always wondered, well, what do I have to trade? I'm an art department coordinator, actually retiring art department coordinator for feature films.
Wait, let me interrupt you.
Mhm.
What was the last film you did that won an Oscar last month?
Black Panther. Wakanda
Yeah!
Forever.
And what a way to retire, huh?
Yeah.
And in that movie, or in that preparing, there's some things I've learned about Carol as she started sharing with me what she does and what that means. They really created Black Panther from
Scratch.
nothing, a blank screen.
Well, I mean, it was a Marvel comic, but it had never been off the pages. And we created Wakanda.
And so that's what Carol, I have goosebumps as we just said that. That's what Carol and I are going to do. We're going to start to take barter, home exchange. She said, well, what do I have to trade? I retired, I don't have any. And I'm going to start to show you with Carol's input, because you can only imagine being able, you shared some stories about the art department and having to go to Africa and research and create something that didn't exist in the future on film, right?
Well, I didn't go to Africa. There was a team that went to Africa. We hired a researcher, but we all chipped in. Depending upon the size of the film, sometimes I do the research, but on something with the scale of Black Panther, we had a wonderful researcher, and we created the language.
Right.
Everything that you saw on screen was created. The language, the script, we based our palette on real life, on different tribes in early Africa, and the language was also based on that. And we just built on history to give an authenticity to Wakanda.
And that's what we're doing now, is we're going to take barter, an industry that actually was started 1 year before I was born, 60 years ago, and where it's at today. Credit cards, Visa, that's what Frank's book is about, is how it started, where it's at, and where it can go. And to have Carol involved with being able to assist in how to create something from nothing, knowing what we want, but how do we get there? That's what our work together is on the Fund My Castle campaign, but more important, the bigger piece of a process on how to create home exchange, barter, soft dollars, and a private economy that currently doesn't exist. Any thoughts on that?
I am just learning, and it's very exciting. The process of listing my apartment was
scary.
Well, it was. I don't want people over for coffee, let alone staying there. So I just am going on faith because I've known Teresa for 20 years and I trust her. And so I listed it, and actually I immediately got somebody. I hadn't even finished listing it, and somebody reached out who needed my place for 2 months this summer. It's not available during his time, but
why isn't it available?
Because I'm going to be there.
Or I'm going to be there.
Well,
that's the part that doesn't exist. We're going to start to explore ways to make sure regulations of each process, barter, home exchange, private currency, cash dollars, and make sure we're always on the same within all the rules, but see how to fit them together so we create more than what we currently have. Create other ways to interact or to exchange without the limitations of our current systems. It's quite exciting. And Carol, with your background, okay, what's your background? I always make her repeat this because I'm so impressed.
I have a left brain, right brain background. I originally was an English teacher, English major, art minor, taught English. I decided to go into business. I got an MBA in finance, and I taught at a university level. I taught corporate finance, and I was in a PhD program at in St. Louis University, and I didn't finish it. PhD, but still, my background is corporate finance. So I've studied economics. I've studied statistics. I've studied marketing. How I ended up as an art department coordinator is one of life's mysteries, but it actually kind of fit and was a joy for a lot of years. But that's kind
behind
of
you now. It's like you're ready to go to the next level.
I am.
And the exciting part is I get to pick a brain and say, hey, how do we do this and what about that? And that's what we've been doing for the last month, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Once we finally got her, and I want you to know, when we introduce this home exchange, guest exchange, it really has you're going to have to trust that we're going to be able to create something that everyone can gain and win from. When we talk about art department coordinator, it means nothing to me. 20 years and it still means almost nothing, and I want you to know.
It's industry specific.
Okay, so watch, here's how it's going to start to mean something. So it's no coincidence that we are in Studio City, where all the major movie studios are, and when she says, how many years before you retired? 26 years. What are some of the movies that you've been involved with, the planning and research and bringing together the teams to create something that doesn't exist? What are some of those movies? And now we're going to get your attention because this is who you want on your team. What are some of those movies?
Well, the last couple of years were Marvel movies. Black Panther I did from start to finish. I was on Thor Ragnarok for the prep before it went to Australia. I did a little segment of Doctor Strange. I did all of Captain America, Winter Soldier, start to finish.
How about like 20 years ago? What were some of the first ones
I
that
did
you...
Batman and Robin, and which was, I had a ball, but it was not the best.
How about when you went to Morocco?
That was rendition. I lived in Morocco for 4 months, and
And then just recently you went to Colorado.
no, I was in Utah.
Oh, Utah.
The only television show I ever did was Yellowstone, and I worked on the first season of Yellowstone. We were in Park City.
And who are the major actors that you absolutely loved working with, and we'll just leave it in positive, and some of the directors?
Oh my God. It becomes a blur. Let's see, directors, I've worked with Tom Hanks, Rob Reiner. Oh God, I wish I had my list in front of me because it does. Frank Marshall.
So where can someone find all the things you've been involved with?
IMDb.
IMDb, Google Carol.
Well, you have to go to imdb.com and then you put in my name, Carol Kiefer, K-I-E-F-E-R.
Now I say that because one of the things, I've been trying to get, what is it you do? What did you do? She finally said, and I hope I can say this, if not it's going to get cut out. She said, people hire me for
My contacts.
my Rolodex. She's been in the industry, so those of you who want to come
Well,
and really
also,
learn,
I know what I'm doing.
oh, that's true too. They didn't make you retire. You chose to retire because Teresa kept pulling you. Come on, Carol, let's go play with a whole other universe.
I was done.
So, anything to wrap up? Any more thoughts about Frank's book? Any ideas that tweaked your interest on how do we get this into home exchange?
Well, I'm just interested in the options. Like, what are things we can barter besides homes?
Private jets, cars.
I'm not as interested in that.
Saunas.
I'm much more interested in bread and butter kinds of things.
These are all bread and butter. But I do want to say this. Home exchange or exchanging homes, and why I went that route, is the most expensive thing you spend your finances on is your housing. And here in Los
Especially
Angeles,
in LA.
yeah, and here in Los Angeles, it's only getting worse, and it's only going to get worse. When Airbnb really took off, we created a whole new industry to compete with hotels. Home exchange and home away and VRBO have created
Actually,
a whole...
when I was in Park City, I stayed at a
Right.
VRBO.
It's an
condo.
untapped market of commerce that we are now harnessing. And this home exchange process with points and networks and global backing is what the French did when I said fund my castle. You have people from all around the world now funding, instead of just funding in California or funding from the United States or funding from China. We now have a world finance private market that you can create, customize it for what you need. You want to make what was the last one? Black Panther film? We're going to show you how to orchestrate that for your goals of lifestyle, future, passion, luxury, whatever that is. Today, meeting our campaign goal. Because when we meet our campaign goal, that's why I set it low, $500, that means we're successful. And that's what we want to see, is we
And
want
you
you to
have
be
interest.
successful.
You've generated interest.
Yeah, $1 and $21 and $100 and $500 and then $100,000, and then who knows? The world is our oyster.